What's going on, filmmaking homies? It's your boy Cody Blue, and today I'm going to show you guys how to create your own custom animated signature in Adobe After Effects. If you guys haven't seen mine, it's right here. It also plays at the end of my intro, which is coming up right now, so check it out. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Now today we've got my first After Effects tutorial. A little bit of a fun fact actually is I used to edit my entire videos only in Adobe After Effects. This was like years ago. Before I knew anything about Premiere, I learned everything in After Effects, and I would edit like entire snowboard videos all in After Effects. So it's cool to kind of be going back to my stomping grounds a little bit, but today I'm gonna show you guys how to create your own custom animated signature. Now, before we jump onto the computer, I just wanted to tell you guys there are a couple of different ways to do this. I'm sure somebody's gonna leave a comment saying like, dude, you could have just done it a different way, or you could have done it in Premiere or whatever. That's fine. This is the way that I do it. Now, there are a couple of different ways that you can actually produce your signature. So for me, in today's tutorial, I'm gonna be using the touchscreen on my laptop to actually write my signature in a paint program. But if you don't have a touchscreen, or maybe you want it to look a little bit more realistic, you can actually use a white piece of paper and a black Sharpie. Just write your signature how you want it to look, and then get that onto your computer however you can. So probably the worst way is gonna be to just take a picture of it with your cell phone. But the best way obviously is gonna be to scan it with a printer and save that image to your computer. So once we have that signature, we're gonna jump into Photoshop, we're gonna isolate it, and then we'll jump into After Effects and show you guys how to animate that signature. So let's get on the computer and we'll get started. Alright guys, so welcome back to my computer. Now I'm gonna try to speed through this one a little bit because this tutorial can be a little bit long. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The first thing we're gonna do is write out our signature. So I'm gonna write it in this Paint 3D program using the touchscreen on my laptop. But if you don't have a touchscreen, or you wanna do it with a pen and pencil, you can do it on a piece of paper with a black Sharpie. So I'm just gonna go ahead and write my signature. Perfect. And for the sake of the tutorial, I'm going to say that this is a good signature, but obviously take your time, make sure you get it right so that it looks good. So now I'm going to go ahead and save this, and we're going to bring it into Photoshop. So now that we're in Photoshop, we want to isolate the signature so that it doesn't have a background, so that it's on a transparent background. Now, if you did it in black and white, you can just double click on this layer, and you can go to this blend if section, grab this little white icon here and drag it over to the left. So now you'll see that my signature has been isolated. Now there's one thing left to do. We just need to make a new layer. We're gonna bring it down to the bottom, and I'm gonna select both of these layers, right click and merge layers. Now I can make my signature white by going to Image, Adjustments, and Invert. Now, if you did this on a piece of paper, it's the same exact process, but you may have to go in and actually fill in your signature so that it looks a little bit better. So to do that, hold Control, click on your layer, and then you can paint in your signature from there. So once you have your signature isolated, you just need to save it as a PNG. We're gonna go to File, Export, quick export as PNG. You can save it wherever you like, and then we're gonna bring that into After Effects. All right, so now that we're in After Effects, I went ahead and made a 1080p composition. I just went to Composition, New Composition, and made it 1080p. If you shoot a lot of 4K or 2.7K, you might wanna make it larger. But now we've brought in our signature PNG. We're gonna bring that down into our timeline here, and we're gonna start the animation. So obviously it's really large. The first thing I'm gonna need to do is scale it down. So I'm just gonna come into my transform, I'm gonna come to my scale, and bring my scale way down. So something like that looks great. I'm gonna make sure I'm in full quality, and now we can actually animate this signature. So in order to start the animation, we're gonna go up and click our pen tool here, and then what we need to do with this pen tool is actually trace the signature in the same way that you would write it on a piece of paper. So I'm gonna zoom way in here with my pen tool, and I'm gonna start at the point of my C. So I'm gonna start here, and I'm just gonna trace my letter, and I'm gonna try to keep the point as close to the center as I can. I don't want it to be on this side or on this side. I want it to be in the middle as best as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but somewhere in the middle is nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed up this tracing for you, and we'll be right back. All right, so once you finish your first letter and you need to go to the next section, which for me is going to be this squiggly little line, you can actually click anywhere in the black, but try not to cross over anywhere in the white that you haven't drawn yet. So I'm going to go all the way around this B and down to the squiggly line like this. I'm going to zoom back in, drag it over. By the way, you can hold space to drag over. And then I'm just going to draw this squiggly line here the same way. I'm just going to trace it just like this. Perfect. And now I can start on the B. So the next line is going to be this downstroke here. So I'm just going to click in the black until I get to that downstroke, and then I'll trace the downstroke and the rest of the B as well as this last little squiggly line. So we'll speed that up and then we'll talk about the animation. All right, so once you finish tracing everything, you can just go ahead and click off of your mask, and that's gonna save that path that you're gonna need in order to do the animation. So now that we have that path, we're gonna click back onto our signature and we're gonna go to Effect, Generate, and Stroke is what we're looking for. So we're gonna go to Stroke, and in our Stroke panel, the first thing we're gonna do is change this paint style to Reveal Original Image. So once we've set our paint style, the next thing we're gonna wanna do is bring our brush size way up. So I'm gonna do something like maybe 30 or so. That way it shows my entire signature. So now my signature is looking nice and thick and good, and we can actually start the animation. So now animating your signature is actually pretty easy. We're just gonna use this end position here, this end keyframe, to animate from beginning to end. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and set a keyframe at about 5 seconds here. So set your cursor to 5 seconds and click the stopwatch with the end set to 100%. Then you just bring it back to the beginning and bring that all the way down to 0. So now our signature is going to animate from beginning to end just like this. So it animates in just the same way that you wrote it out. So as long as you traced it the correct way, it's gonna animate the correct way. Now, obviously it's a little bit slow, and there's a couple of different things that we can do to make it look a little bit better. So when you're actually writing, for example, when I'm actually writing my signature, I write the C really fast, and then there's a little bit of a pause, and then I do the squiggly, there's another little pause, and etc. I do the downstroke and all of that. So just to make it look a little bit more natural, we're gonna add some more keyframes in here to kind of make things look like it's actually being written. So what I'm gonna do is find where my C ends, and I'm gonna set another keyframe. Now, if you don't see these keyframes right here, just click on your signature and push the U button. U is gonna pull up all of your keyframes. So I find where my C ends, and I'm gonna click this little diamond here to add another keyframe, and I want that to be a fast motion. So what I'm gonna do is actually drag this all the way up so that it happens super quick and close to the beginning. So if you watch now, the C comes on really fast, and that's perfect. That's the way I like it. Now, in order to create a pause, I'm gonna copy this keyframe, so Control C, and then I'm going to Control V and paste it. So now between this second keyframe and the third keyframe, nothing is happening. That gives me a little bit of a pause. I'm just gonna bring this closer. Now the next is gonna be the squiggly line. So I'm gonna find where that squiggly line ends, which is right here, and I'm going to set another keyframe just like that, and I'm gonna move it a little bit closer to the pause. So now we'll have a C and a squiggly line. It should look a little bit more natural. Boom, just like that. Now again, this line for the B is coming in really slowly, but the first thing I wanna do is create a pause, because I'm pausing because I'm moving my pencil to the other location. So I'm gonna copy this keyframe, Control C, Control V, and move it a little bit closer. So now I have a nice pause. I'm gonna find out where the line to my B ends, which looks like it's right about here, and I'm gonna set another keyframe and drag that a little bit closer as well. So now that B is gonna happen nice and quick. So we have the C, a squiggly, a B, and then the B is gonna draw pretty slowly as well. So I'm gonna find out where that B ends, which is right here. I'm going to copy this keyframe so that I have a tiny bit of a pause, but not too much. So I'll put it really close, paste it. I'm gonna find out where the B ends, which is here, but I wanna make sure I'm not getting that squiggly line. I'm gonna set a keyframe. I'm gonna drag it closer, but not too close because the B takes a little bit longer. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So now it's gonna animate nicely with the C, the squiggly, the B, and then I just need that last squiggly. So I'm just gonna scroll all the way forward. First, I wanna make sure I copy this keyframe so that I have a pause. So I'm gonna make a little bit of a pause, and then I wanna find that last squiggly, which is actually just gonna be this last keyframe. So I'm just gonna bring that in closer, and now we'll have a signature that looks like it's actually animating at the correct speed, at the way that you would actually write it. So here's the full speed. and I have an animated signature. Now, obviously your guys' signature is gonna be a little bit different. The way that you write it is gonna be a little bit different as well. So try to think about the way you write it, the speed that you write it, the pauses, and different things like that, and manipulate those keyframes so that it looks natural. Now, the last thing that we have to do is actually export this so we can bring it into Premiere Pro when we're creating our intros or anything like that. So I'm just gonna go to composition, and I want to add to render queue, which is right here, add to render queue. Now there is one thing you're gonna wanna do, so click on where it says lossless and change from RGB to RGB and alpha. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna make sure that your signature is not on a black background. It's actually going to be on a transparent background. That way you can use it as an overlay on any one of your videos. So I'm not gonna get into all those details. That's how you animate your own signature. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. All right, guys, so now you have your own custom animated signature that you can use for pretty much whatever you want. Obviously, I like to use it in my intro, but you can use it to sign off your videos or open your videos, whatever it might be. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more, and if you have any questions, send them to me on Instagram at CodyBlue_. But that's it for today's video. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.